Welcome to the Other Star franchise, the anti-fascist Star Wars podcast where a couple of Trekkies from the Star Trek fandom discuss Star Wars. We are watching the Star Wars shows, movies, and animation in chronological order leading up to the release of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie later this year. Today we are discussing Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars movie, and a few episodes of the Clone Wars, all of which take place in the year 22 BBY in universe. I'm Fatheree, this is Taylor. Taylor, how are you doing today?
Great, I've got a cat in my lap. She's
Yeah.
causing trouble already.
Yeah, our animals are going to be part of the show again today. I have a dog in my lap, so...
Like that lady up, she's going to leave, so that's actually probably a good idea.
For the people who can see us,
There she goes.
For the people just listening, you might hear some weird animal noises, but you know that's how we roll. You know, the Star Wars universe is full of a lot of colorful creatures, and so is our show, the Other Star franchise. We're also we're not used to doing this in the morning. We just woke up a little over an hour ago, and our brains are still booting up. So if we seem a little slower than usual, that's why.
Yeah, we're on the first coffee of the day.
But the Clone Wars are here, Taylor. We've made it to the pivotal event in the Star Wars universe, the famous event that Ben Kenobi and Luke Skywalker first mentioned back in 1977. He was like, "You fought with my father in the Clone Wars?"
Yeah.
So,
I like the meme that uses, I think it's Marty McFly, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think your generation was ready for that yet."
yeah. But your kids are gonna dig it.
Yeah,
your kids are gonna love
dig
it. Yeah. So Johnny be good. But also kind of messed up to go like back in time and show like, oh, it was actually a white guy who invented rock and roll. But
That's another podcast, y'all.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get to breaking down and discussing Back to the Future one day, but not today. But the Clone Wars is, it's something that is, I guess, in canon, mostly depicted in the animated series, The Clone Wars. But it was something that, when they first started making the prequel movies with The Phantom Menace, I just remember as like a Star Wars fan, we were expecting like, oh, these movies, they're going to have to tell the tale of the Clone Wars, whatever the hell that was. We're going to learn about that. Like, I remember like seeing the trailer for The Phantom Menace and seeing like, like the battle droids on the battlefield. And I was like, oh, is this like a Clone War? Like, these look like machines, not clones, but I don't know. Maybe they're like copies. Is that what this is? So when they called Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, we were like, the first thought everyone had was like, well, that's kind of a stupid name. But the second thought was like, I guess the Clone Wars are going to begin. So then, like in the trailer, you even have like that shot of Yoda, like, begun the Clone War has. Yep. So
it's kind of weird, I think, to name the war before / as it's happening.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's not how this works. It's not like Pearl Harbor gets bombed and then like General Eisenhower like looks over at someone else in Washington and is like, begun World War II has.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not labeled that till like kind of after, isn't it? So
that's the prequel writing. So as people have heard me say on the Other Star franchise previously, I am a self-identified old school prequel hater, but I challenge myself to return to these movies and find things to appreciate. But I'm gonna pull up our spreadsheet, but I don't know, Taylor, do you have any thoughts on the Clone Wars as a concept before or is that just something like, you were how old when this movie came out in 2002? You would have been like 7, so This was all like, this probably wasn't something like you ever thought about before this.
No, I do remember seeing it in the movie theaters with my dad, but I think I was very confused. I was too young, honestly, let's be real, to be seeing these movies. Like, I really was like, ooh, lightsabers, you know what I mean? Like, that was the level I was at when seeing these. So like all that politics and the
Hmm.
deviousness of Palpatine, sorry, went over my head.
Oh, I messed you up because last time I was talking about how when we watched The Phantom Menace, I was reminding you that, oh, when I saw this movie for the first time in 1999, we weren't really sure how to pronounce Palpatine or Coruscant
Yeah.
until we saw the movie. It's like, oh, it's Coruscant.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I would have said Palpatine. That just
But
seems
yeah,
wrong. But now I'm thinking about
I
it.
always said it. I always said Palpatine, and I always said Coruscant
That's
because
funny.
it was only written in the
Uh-huh.
books and stuff.
Coruscant makes sense though, because it's like crescent moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they're going for that like galaxy vibe. I get that. But Palpatine, that one's kind of that one I didn't cross my mind until you said it to me, and now I'm like, oh, that kind of makes more sense.
Well, looking at our timeline, though, so the last content we talked about was the Phantom Menace and the Tales of the Jedi episode that take place during the same time as the Phantom Menace, the Sith Lord. So those are both set in the year 32 BBY. So Attack of the Clones, we jump 10 years in the future to Attack of the Clones, 22 BBY. So 10 years closer to that big Battle of Yavin we're going to get to eventually. It's going to take us a couple months to get through Clone Wars. So I don't know. Hopefully we're into like Bad Batch before April, but I expect to have a lot of hours spent talking into this camera and microphone about the Clone Wars animated show. Um, so the Clone Wars takes place during those 3 years between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So like 22 BBY up to 19 BBY, which is when Luke and Leia are born, because then they're 19 during the actual Battle of Yavin. Um, but yeah, so that 10-year time jump, I remember like in the theater. I guess let's just start talking about Attack of the Clones first. Uh, So we went from 9-year-old Anakin. He's actually the events of Attack of the Clones take place like right after his birthday, so he like just turned 20 or something like that. Like the official timelines, they always say that he's 20 years old. Even though like he behaves like he's like I don't know, like a freshman in high school. Like he's a very very childish character. Doesn't seem like a guy who like when we're watching these Attack of the Clone Wars episodes, like he's a general. He's like commanding clones and stuff. He's
Yeah.
like in charge of Rex and has his own uh, regiment or the 501st. What are they? A legion, a battalion? I don't know.
Section.
The
Yeah.
way that they break it down in Star Wars, I think is odd compared to real military. But yeah, not to like focus on the negatives too much right off the bat. But I think this movie Attack of the Clones, it does have a reputation as one of the worst or the worst of all Star Wars films.
Yeah. The hardest thing for me to watch is all of Anakin and Padme's scenes. Like it is so cringe.
Yeah.
It is he like she constantly tells him like back off, like leave me alone, I'm not interested, and he is like I'm just going to keep forcing my way in.
And like that, I mean, that's bad enough. Like that, his persistence.
Yeah.
But he's also just like so whiny and so like he's like complaining about work to her. He's like, "Oh, my boss is so terrible. He's so mean to me. He doesn't realize how great I am. Everyone I work with is an idiot. I'm the only one who knows what the hell I'm doing."
Yeah, major red flags there, Anakin. Jesus.
People don't want to hear that. Like that's not a like I was making the joke to Taylor, like this is a great movie to like show young men and be like, this is how not to court a woman.
Yeah,
like,
it's so bad.
don't be this whiny, unstable crybaby
Yeah,
throwing fits.
Yeah, and it's like it sucks because it's like this is what people are watching and they're like, oh well, it worked. I mean, he did, technically him and Padme get together, so it's like, wow, bad examples. For
Kristen
real life.
in our live audience is agreeing with us on the Anakin hate. She says that you can tell he was raised being told he was the chosen one. That would mess with this kid. I guess if we wanted to think about his like psychological profile from like a serious standpoint and like really analyze this character, you would think, well, he did grow up a slave, so he has like a lot of trauma, and it is like awkward that he was was kind of forced to be like no contact with his mom for years and years.
Yeah, it's weird.
And then yeah, that whole mom storyline we get in this movie is weird. But I guess just right at the very beginning, after the opening crawl explaining that the Republic is in trouble, a lot of systems want to leave. There's talk of civil war. Count Dooku, who we've encountered in the Tales of the Jedi that we've watched previous to this, but he is building the separatist movement, and the camera does this weird thing after the opening crawl where it pans up to Naboo, and you see, I'm sorry, it pans up to Coruscant, and you see the Naboo ships turn upside down to land. And so I think that was Lucas saying, like, yeah, this movie is going to turn the whole Star Wars franchise on its head. This is going to be the Jedi are going to unknowingly give the Emperor his army to oppress the galaxy with. This is like the turning point where it all gets flipped upside down.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because in The Empire Strikes Back, also the second movie in a trilogy, Luke spends a lot of time upside down, building up to the big reveal near the end of that movie when his whole world view gets turned upside down. And I think it kind of like worked better in Empire Strikes Back, which that might have, I don't know if that was whose idea that was. Maybe it was Lucas's, but. But yeah, it's weird because like the politics of the prequels, that was something that they got a lot of shit for at the time. People were like, why do they make these movies about like trade blockades and taxations and Senate votes, and we don't want political Star Wars. We want like pew pew action. But I think the politics are the neatest part of it for me to, when we go back and look at the stuff. Even though I think like the story might have been told poorly, I have a lot of respect, especially after the last year. I have a lot of respect for the story of how this corrupt and ineffective government has all of these antiquated institutions that are unable to stop the rise of fascism in a liberal democracy. So
yeah, and it's also like the good, like the Jedi corruption too, like it be like laying over, and like letting it happen. And I think that's a good commentary too. I think it's more relevant even today, like, which is sad. But I was gonna say, I think that the expansion with the Clone Wars series really helps me appreciate the politics more in the prequels, because the Clone Wars like deep dives so many individual issues. And so I think that, I don't know, like obviously I've said this before and I'll say it till I die, but like the Clone Wars saved the prequels just by adding so much more context.
Yes. Because I feel like a lot of that is Dave Filoni understands and respects some of the wackier, some of the kookier ideas Lucas might have.
Yeah.
Even with stuff with like the Force and midi-chlorians, that I think that kind of like demystifies the Force. Like, oh, this is like bacteria in your blood, but
yeah.
I feel like Filoni was really good at, and then then when you see Filoni Unleashed on like Rebels, where he doesn't have Lucas over his shoulder, it's like, oh, I think he's even better without Lucas. He's at his best when he's working with Favreau, though, and they're doing like The Mandalorian. But hopefully this movie that we have coming out in May is. But yeah, that's directed by Favreau, right? And written by Filoni.
I think so.
Or is it direct? No, it's directed by Filoni.
Oh, I don't know.
So
I don't know anything.
We should know that. That's something we should know.
I like to know nothing.
But yeah,
and
we're
learn everything.
Yeah. Just to remind people, we're like avoiding the trailers. We actually want to know as little about that movie as possible. We want to go in as blind as possible and be surprised. That was not the case with Attack of the Clones, by the way. The entire plot of this movie had leaked online.
Oh,
so like, when I was in but I had only like read descriptions of the plot. So like I read like Obi-Wan Kenobi goes to a water planet and then discovers there's a massive cloning facility there, and like a lot of this stuff sounded cooler in my imagination than when I actually saw it.
Yeah.
But I guess the that Camino sequence in the movie, that is one of the things that bothered me the most watching this, because it just the CGI just felt so, it just felt so fake to me. It just felt like Ewan McGregor is like walking around in a cartoon world.
Yeah, it does kind of look more like the Clone Wars
But yeah,
episodes.
now that I've watched the Clone Wars, it's like, oh, I'm kind of used to a CGI animated Star Wars. That when
Mm.
they do the wacky C-3PO antics in this movie, when C-3PO is in the droid factory, and it's just as stupid as the Jar Jar stuff in the Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
but it's with C-3PO instead of Jar Jar. But getting his droid head swapped with a battle droid, and all of that stuff. It basically looks like we're watching Clone Wars, though, because there's so many shots. They're just like pure CGI. And
Yeah.
then it's kind of weird whenever you see like live action Christopher Lee or Samuel L. Jackson run by. Like oh, like Natalie Portman's real, but everything else looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Kind of has like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of vibe to it.
It's kind of funny that you brought up C3PO being very Jar Jar in that scene, because remember in the Industrial Light and Magic documentary we were watching, and George Lucas he was discussing like the hate of Jar Jar.
Yeah, he was defending Jar Jar.
And he said, well, people didn't like C3PO back in the day because he was too goofy. So I think that's funny that you brought that up. It's like a good comparison.
That's something that I've heard Lucas say a few times over the years to defend Jar Jar. He's like, well, everyone hated 3PO when C-3PO came out.
Yeah. I don't think that... I think that there's a bigger difference.
George Lucas, I never hated C-3PO until
Yeah,
I saw Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That's the movie that turned me against
It's
him.
like he put him in there just to remind people, remember when y'all thought C3PO was silly and goofy?
But so speaking of that, so when we were watching The Phantom Menace, I tried to think to myself, why did George Lucas make this creative choice? Why did he make Jar Jar so fucking stupid? And I could always think of like, okay, I think I understand what he was thinking. Like he wanted to have like Goofy, like Disney Goofy. He wanted to have like a Goofy type character, just doing all the wacky goofy stuff in the film to entertain the little kids so they don't get bored with his space politics.
Right.
And I think that was like Lucas's way to kind of balance the movie out. He's like, I need to tell this story about the Galactic Republic turning into a fascist empire, but I also want the first of these three prequels to be like the kid movie, because it's going to be like the entry point for the new generation of the Star Wars audience. So, and then with Attack of the Clones, I think he did try to respect the fan backlash, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna put way less Jar Jar in here. But he was also thinking like, but like I can't like abandon this big character. He was a huge part of the Phantom Menace, so maybe I'll just give him a small important role. Like, oh, he can be the member of Congress who calls for the vote to give emergency power to Palpatine, that allows him to be this more powerful executive in command of this grand army of the Galactic Republic. Like, I'll make that Jar Jar's fault.
Darth Jar Jar.
But I mean, yeah, it also kind of felt insulting, because it's like, well, Lucas, you're gonna do us like that? Like, we all hate this character, and you're gonna make him be like the reason why Palpatine gets his army, the reason why he gets to
he's like, here's some justified hate.
But yeah, no, I think that might have been like something like Lucas was thinking. Like, well, I need to tell this story of how like these dumb members of Congress can be, force manipulated into voting for these evil things, and kind of commentary on real life politics. It doesn't take the force. I guess there's other corrupting influences, but capital is the real dark side. But I don't know. I know you said you really like the Camino stuff, though, the Obi-Wan investigating.
I think it's pretty fun to see him kind of like unfolding or whatever. But I also feel like it kind of makes him look so dumb because he like gets there, and I like that he's like playing it cool, whatever. But the part that I'm like, how do you not know that this is probably not a good idea? Like you show up, you find out that all these clones are cloned from the bounty hunter, Jango Fett.
Yeah, the guy who was just trying to assassinate Senator Padme Amidala because she was trying to vote for an act to stop to stop the chancellor from being able to have a army of the Republic.
Oh, okay. Right. So you're like, oh, that person just went and tried to kill that person who's trying to stop the war. So like, okay, so he wants the war. So Jango Fett, you've chased him down.
Yeah.
You find this whole clone army, and then you're super suspecting of Jango Fett to be like obviously this bad person, and he leaves, and you get into this like, I don't know, skirmish before he like takes off.
Yeah, you make the joke of like, what are the Kaminoans doing when they see Jango Fett and Obi-Wan?
Awkward. They're probably like, oh yeah, that's totally normal.
That would be cool to witness though, a Mando on Jedi fight.
I guess. But then, okay, so then like the part that like really solidifies that this is the stupidest Jedi ever is like Jango Fett is like a right-hand man to Count Dooku at the freaking God.
Geonosis.
Geonosis.
Geonosis, yeah. We go from Camino is the clone factory, Geonosis is the droid
but
factory.
Like at the Coliseum, right, when they're like having their like Obi-Wan is like tied to a post and sees Jango Fett as a right-hand man to Count Dooku, who they already have established is against the Republic, as Count Dooku, not just as Darth Tyrannus or whatever. So you would know that this clone army is coming from the other side.
Yeah, like this is like clearly Dooku is trying to create a war with the Republic.
Right.
Yeah.
And has provided you the people to have the war.
Yeah.
Like what?
And like there ain't no denying where them clones came from, right? Like those are some Jango Fetts.
Yeah, and it's just so silly to me that they're just like, oh, thank God these clones came out of nowhere. Like,
thank God Sifo Diaz ordered us this army 10 years ago.
And like, they were even like, oh, well, he died, so he couldn't have done it.
Okay, so the Tales of the Jedi stuff, they also, they actually show you Dooku deleting Camino from the Jedi Archive 10 years before this. But the books have also expanded on Sifo Dyas, and his story is told a little bit in Clone Wars. They get to him in like seasons 4 or 5, somewhere near the end. But he was friends with Dooku when they were younger Jedi, Sifo Dyas, and he would have like these like visions of like terrible things happening in the future, but they would always come true. And he actually saw the Republic in this huge war, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna need an army." And so he was part of getting that clone army ordered, but I think it still might have been Dooku who actually did it, but he just did it like in Sifo Dyas's name or something. Yeah. But they talk about Sifo Dyas being killed to I guess cover the tracks of all this in the Clone Wars. So we'll talk about that more when we get to it. I'm
hazy on that story.
Yeah, same. But I was gonna mention about the Camino stuff. That was Lucas wanted to make that kind of like an old detective mystery. It's funny, we just watched the latest Knives Out movie last night, and they talk about like old pulpy detective books in there. But Lucas was kind of going with that kind of vibe for the clone mystery. He kind of wanted Obi-Wan Kenobi to be like this detective out in the rain trying to crack the case. But I don't know if that really like comes through in the movie. Yeah. That's just like something like I heard Lucas say one time, and I'm like, oh, that's why Camino was so rainy. You said something when we were watching it that made me laugh though during the Coruscant chase in the opening, when Anakin loses his lightsaber and then Obi-Wan is following in the speeder, and he just like snatches it out of the air and grabs it.
I was like, oh, Obi-Wan is going to get that lightsaber no matter what, because he doesn't have a free weekend to go get another kyber crystal with Anakin every time like he loses his lightsaber. Yeah,
you'd have to go on a field trip to go back to Ilum, the kyber crystal planet, to get a lightsaber.
Like, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, like I'm not going all the way to Ilum.
And also, like, how many kyber crystals can really be allowed to be taken by one person? Like, like they make it like this big deal, like they call to you and it's your crystal and stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, if he keeps breaking all these lightsabers and losing them and stuff, like how many kyber crystals are gonna be like, hey, I guess I'm your fourth one.
But I'll say all the things that we complain about this movie about and like the terrible romance, but the thing that pisses me off the most about it is the way they handle Anakin and Shmi Skywalker. I love them like going back to the Lars homestead, and you see like young Owen and Beru, and that's so cool. Like they shot that at the same location in Tunisia when they were producing this movie. They found the remains of the old Star Wars stuff,
Yeah.
and so they just built it like right on top of the exact same place. But then when like just it is so dark and messed up that like the sand people kidnapped his mom, and then I guess they're assaulting her for days when he's having these nightmares. He can like feel it in the force, and then he shows up for her to die in his arms, and then his dark side fueled reaction is to basically become a mass murderer and just like massacre an entire village of people.
Yeah.
Which was, like the sand people, they're kind of used kind of like the way like old westerns would use Native Americans. It's just like these, it's just like these like heartless savages, and they're kind of just like cannon fodder. It's it's okay to kill them. It's like cutting down a battle droid. It's not like they're real people. It's like it's kind of like dehumanizing,
Yeah.
like that. But so I'm trying to think, why the hell would Lucas do this? And I guess like he needed something so terrible to happen to Anakin that like Padme would be like, "Oh, I guess I understand like why you snapped." Like like it was like the one time that your mom was raped to death. Like you're probably not going to go crazy and massacre a whole village again. But otherwise, she is a terrible person for marrying this guy after he confesses he just committed mass murder, right? Like what she should have done is like gone to Obi-Wan and Mace Windu and been like, Anakin is not well. He is a danger to himself and others. He really needs help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole galaxy would have been way better off if she had done that. But I'm trying to think, well, what was Lucas's reasons for doing this? And I
Man pain.
yeah.
They love to kill women for man pain.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not, something Lucas invented. That's just kind of.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They in the general term.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like the way that romance traditionally was written, where like normally it is like, oh, you just have to keep trying, buddy. You'll get her eventually. That's a bad approach, but that is how it was often written in our storytelling.
Yeah, for men and boys listening, don't do that. If she says no, that means no, and leave her alone.
See, Jeremiah's in our live audience. He agrees. Anakin was so messed up for killing all those people. I want to switch over to talking about some of the animated Clone Wars, where I like the depiction of Anakin a lot more. But then sometimes I'll be watching that and I'm like, oh, I like this Anakin and Padme, and then I think like, but yeah, I remember like the scene from Attack of the Clones when he confessed, mass murdering a village to her, and it's like it ruins these characters. Luke and Leia's parents suck.
Yeah.
But I also want to say like the thing I guess I like most about the movie is the I don't think it particularly looks great. All the big CGI battle. It was weird that Lucas was obsessed with not making any clone trooper armor. He wanted them to be all CGI to kind of prove he could do that. The funny thing is that the modern shows now, 25 years later, they actually make armor for clone troopers when they do flashbacks to this era. So, but I like that it gave us like the clone versus droid, just look of the Clone Wars, that aesthetic. I really like that. I've played like a lot of video games that are clones shooting droids. That like I've been having a lot of fun as we're watching this stuff now. I've been playing the old Xbox game Republic Commandos. I got that on the Nintendo Switch, and then sometimes I hop on the PS5 for some Battlefront action in the Clone Wars era. So I guess just like that idea of like, oh yeah, like I like these clones. They're really likable guys. I like them. The brothers in arms fighting the clankers. it is kind of like that simplicity. It's just like, oh yeah, these are just like dumb, heartless robots. So it's okay to just like shoot the shit out of all of them, just blast them. They don't have feelings. I guess droids in Star Wars do sometimes, but yeah, like battle droids are fun to shoot. And so, but I love that stuff from the show, from the animated show, so much. So it makes me like Attack of the Clones more when I go back and watch it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I like the clones. I like to root for them. And but I don't know, anything else on Attack of the Clones before we move on?
No, let's move on.
Okay, so animated Clone Wars. So this was fun when we got into this is some of the best Star Wars we've watched so far. Even though this is some of the weakest material from this show, I think some of the early stuff I don't think is as good as the later stuff. That's also awesome that Clone Wars has such a great ending with those final 4 episodes
Yeah.
that you really love. Like, oh, like we're gonna build up to something so great. But we are doing this in chronological order. So the before we even watched the Clone Wars movie, we're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to get to that, but we have 2 episodes of the show to talk about first. They did 2 prequel episodes to their movie when they were making the Clone Wars, when they were telling these stories out of order. But season 2, episode 16, Cat and Mouse, followed by season 1, episode 16, Hidden Enemy, and then we got to the movie. But Taylor, what do you think of these? This is the first time you'd ever done this, right? Watching these 2 episodes before the movie. So
Yeah.
what do you think of that?
I'm actually like really glad we're doing this because I remember watching the Clone Wars and being like, "What? When is this? Where is Ahsoka?" And like, like it being like, I'd be like, I thought that character died, like 4 episodes back or something. I don't know. And so now I'm really liking having it in order like this because I'm like, oh, this makes way more sense. But yeah, I think it's fun like seeing because even in these first couple chronological orders of the Clone Wars, like Anakin is really I want to say abrasive. Like he's kind of like in Attack of the Clones, he's kind of like an abrasive character, like kind of insufferable. And I kind of felt in these beginning ones like he's a lot better, but he still has like that very like I don't know, arrogance to him, like even more I think in this. And I think like he has that throughout this show, but I think in these first few episodes it's even more than like I think he does have a lot more character growth than I remember.
Yeah, he's closer to Attack of the Clones Anakin, I guess, than he will be later. But his voice
oh my
is
God, so
like
good.
he's not the whiny Hayden Christensen. I don't want to like beat up on Hayden Christensen.
No.
We've also been watching the ILM documentary on Disney Plus, or the docu series, I guess I should say. And like last night, they had like the segment with Ahmed Best where he was talking about contemplating suicide because he felt so bullied for his performance as Jar Jar.
Terrible.
So I don't want to beat up on Hayden Christensen too much, but I think a lot of it was just like poor direction from George Lucas. But yeah, his line delivery for like almost every line he says in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I think is bad. And I don't know. I like he's actually like a pretty good actor if you watch his face. Like someone pointed this out one time and they're like, no, watch Hayden Christensen's face. It's like, oh man, like his face is like acting is I guess faces don't have asses, but like his face is acting its ass off. It's like, but like when he opens his mouth and he's like, where are you going? Like, to find my mother. It's just like
yeah, it's very whiny.
Yeah, so I love listening to Clone Wars Anakin, and then the guy who does Obi-Wan sounds just like Ewan McGregor.
So yeah, his name is James Arnold Taylor. Amazing.
Oh, and our Star Trek actor Bradley D. Baker does all of the clones. So and I have a slight preference for his clone voice because you hear so many more hours of it. I guess.
Yeah.
But whenever like the video game I'm playing, Republic Commandos, it's an old game. It came out like in between these movies, between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and they have Tamara Morrison do the voice work in there.
Oh.
And it's like I kind of wish it was Bradley D. Baker. I just like he's the actual clone voice in my mind.
Yeah.
But he does a great job approximating it, so it's not really that different. It's just like a slight distinction. But yeah, those two episodes, Cat and Mouse and Hidden Enemy. Cat and Mouse is almost more of a Star Trek episode. It's very, speaking of one of our Star Trek actors, Bradley D. Baker, but it's a cloaked ship trying to get past a blockade, which also sounds very Star Wars. But I mean, it's called Cat and Mouse. It's that very like submarine movie Cat and Mouse. You have like
Balance
Anakin
of
doing.
terror.
But yeah, but Anakin's doing like ship captain tactics. So you kind of see him developing as a military commander, which he'll do for most of his career. Like Vader was like a boss in the Imperial military.
Yeah.
It's kind of like during the Empire, Vader kind of carries out the same role that the Jedi carry out in the Clone Wars. Where it's just like these powerful space wizards that command and advise the military. And then, Vader is like the Jedi traitor who will kill all the other Jedi. But then, like, he continues to carry out that Jedi role for the military.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that kind of establishing itself here, when he's young. And that adds kind of a dark undertone to this. It's kind of an innocent. It's hard to describe war as innocent. Like they're shooting at another guy trying to blow him up. This the spider who he comes back, but he's like half cyborg because of this big explosion. But Wolf Yularen also gets his first appearance chronologically. He's on the Death Star when it blows up later, and you see him in Andor. He eventually becomes head of the CIA of Star Wars, the Imperial Security Bureau. But he's kind of new to these characters too in this episode, so he's getting to know Obi-Wan and Anakin. What's the name of the planet that they capture?
Christophsis?
Christophsis. So yeah, these two episodes, they capture the planet Christophsis that the Clone Wars movie opens with them trying to maintain their foothold here. So here they're trying to, I guess, land supplies on the planet. Bell Organa's in this episode, Cat and Mouse. And then the next episode, Hidden Enemy. They're on the surface of the planet with their clones, and that's when like one of the clones betrays them. We get to know like a lot of clones in these early episodes too. Get like a lot of clone names, like the big ones, Rex and Cody. Rex is like the top clone under Anakin's command, and Cody is the top clone under Obi-Wan's command. But there's Slick and who else we get? They name a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But Slick was the traitor.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a fun idea too. It's like, oh, what if one of your clones was an enemy spy? It'd be hard to find them in a room. It's kind of, you get like that paranoia, and it's almost kind of like, well, I know you haven't seen the John Carpenter movie The Thing, but it almost has kind of that to it.
I think it's cool too to have like a rebel clone already this early in chronological order, just because like that does come up later where, I don't know, like there's clones that want lives outside this and they don't believe that they can, like after Order 66 where they're kind of like struggling with their place and stuff. And also I think it's important to show that they can rebel against their orders early on, and that I guess like say like after Order 66, we have to deal with the inhibitor chip stuff, but I think it's cool. I think it makes them more individual. Like it's emphasizing the individuality of the clone early.
Yeah, I guess it shows that a lot of them, like they choose to fight for the Republic, even though they're kind of like weirdly also dehumanized and not really treated as like typical citizens of the Republic. They're like from childhood they're trained for combat and forced into it. But that is, kind of like that was like an intent of Lucas, is that like, yeah, all this stuff is like really messed up, and like these movies, I guess they want to be critical of that stuff, but I feel like it doesn't always show it that way, like there's a lot of muddled messaging in Attack of the Clones about the Jedi themselves, and Yoda has that line like, oh, like too sure of themselves Jedi are these days, and too overconfident in their abilities, and I guess like the Jedi being overwhelmed by the droids of the big gladiator battle in that movie, it kind of like humbled the Jedi and was kind of like, see, like like the Jedi were too arrogant and they thought they could solve all of the galaxy's problems themselves, but it turns out they need this big army. So I guess they they had to show, but I mean, like they don't really show that. Just like Yoda has like that one line, like too sure of Jedi,
Yeah.
you're too sure of themselves they are these days.
One complaint I have is how quickly, and I guess I don't know what the right word would be. Like quickly for sure, but also like well, the Jedi just become generals. Like when Yoda comes in with the Attack of the Clones, like with the clone army, and he's just like, and report to the command center and blah 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 and blah 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 blah, and then like he picks up all these Jedi who didn't even know that there was a clone army, and they all just kind of like fall into step. And then like you get into the Clone Wars and it's been like 2 or 3 episodes
Yeah.
and they're already like fighting battles.
Oh, we should say there's like a 6 month gap, even though this is all the year 22 BBY. But like Anakin's not an apprentice anymore, and he has slightly longer hair.
Yeah.
Not as long as it gets in Revenge of the Sith, but I love the look of these characters too, and they have
Yeah.
like the armor, the Jedi armor that. I guess they invented that because it was easier to animate than robes that have way more movement. But it was a cool look that, like, eventually we got to see some of the stuff in live action. But it's like the fun thing on the Battlefront video game I was showing you, where it's like look at these character models. You can see them in their Clone Wars armor, but they look so good and photorealistic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that 6 month time gap seems nuts, because then
Yeah.
you go if you're watching it in chronological order like we're doing, you go from Attack of the Clones, and then you get to like Cat and Mouse, and like Anakin is he's this whiny kid that we just saw, like he's holding me back, throwing stuff
Yeah.
in his room, having a tantrum. And then we get here, and he's like bossing these soldiers around, and the clones are like yeah, when you serve under General Skywalker, this is what it's like. And
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Hidden Enemy also has the first appearance of Asajj Ventress, the
yeah.
Sith assassin trained by Count Dooku. So it's kind of weird that if you're just watching the canonical stuff, there's not like a proper introduction for her. The old 2D animation that the Samurai Jack guy made, he introduced her in that. She has a slightly different origin story that they tell in Clone Wars eventually. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, basically, like Dooku is training the Sith assassin. I think it's kind of weird that we talk about the Clone Wars movie. They show that Sidious and Dooku like both like they're on like a conference call with her. They're on like a holographic conference call, but like
Yeah.
it's weird to me that she's not like a secret thing, like his secret side project. Like Sidious knows that Dooku is training this Sith assassin,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
I guess that's kind of how the Sith Inquisitors will be eventually. Like they get training from Vader, but they're not really taught everything to be like an actual Sith apprentice.
Right.
So, and I feel like the Acolyte was kind of exploring like a Sith apprentice might have like his own acolyte or something. But it's also kind of a thing like like a Sith apprentice might train someone to help them overthrow their master,
Right.
because the rule of two and all
I
of
think
that.
it makes sense for Dooku to tell Palpatine, like, hey, I have this assassin. Because if he's keeping it a secret, I think he would find out, and that would be worse. You know?
Yeah, and I know eventually in the show, he does order Dooku to like, you need to end this experiment and kill this assassin.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
that's a really cool moment when we get to that's like when Asajj Ventress became an interesting character to me.
Mm-hmm.
Here she's not that interesting other than she's like a cool design.
Yeah.
That's something that I guess they hadn't done before, but she has like this interesting flirtation with Obi-Wan.
Yeah. They call him my sweet and my darling.
Yeah. But it's awkward when you just, there's the 6 month time gap between Attack of the Clones and Cat and Mouse, and then you get to Hidden Enemy, and it's like, over this jump in time that we didn't see the events of, I guess Obi-Wan developed a
banter.
some type of banter dynamic with Asajj Ventress. Like,
Yeah.
how often have they encountered each other? So that's a little awkward, I guess.
I think it's kind of funny.
I would like to. I'm just curious. I would like to look up whatever is the first like canonical encounter between the two. Like, is their first encounter told somewhere?
Hmm.
I would like to read that, or I assume it'd be in like a book or a comic or something. But yeah, let's talk about the Clone Wars movie. So this came out in 2008, and I remember someone who was disappointed in the prequels, but I did like the 2D animated show when it came out on Cartoon Network. I was a big fan of that, and I was thinking that the CGI Clone Wars would be just as good as the 2D animated stuff. I don't think it was. I end up liking the show a lot, now. But yeah, when I went to see it in the theater, there were like 5 other people in there, and I remember being disappointed. Well, watching it now, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad actually, and it's
Yeah.
like it's to me like it's fun to have Ahsoka's introduction, and you have Samuel L. Jackson voicing Mace Windu, you have Christopher Lee voicing Count Dooku, which I saw Jeremiah said was a mistake, and I did think Christopher Lee sounded a little weird. And in those Tales of the Jedi stuff we were watching, the guy who does Cad Bane's voice also does Dooku's voice, and he does
Mm.
such a good job. He sounds very much like Christopher Lee. He has
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that very like deep voice, but um and Anthony Daniels as 3PO, like he always comes back as
Yeah.
C3PO.
I
So
like his enthusiasm.
yeah. Um but I don't know. What do you think of I know you'd seen this movie before. You've seen all of the Clone
Yeah.
Wars show before, but this is the first time you ever watched Cat and Mouse and Hidden Enemy before going into the
Right.
movie.
Yeah. Um well, I love Ahsoka, so super stoked that we've got that ready to go.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready for more
Before
Ahsoka.
this, we had only seen her as a baby in
Yeah.
that one episode of Tales of the Jedi that we watched.
I'm gonna say that like every time we see her, and Ahsoka was in this, so it was my favorite. But no, I really did like this. Like, I like the establishment of Anakin and Ahsoka's like almost like frenemies. Like they have like this like sibling banter, and like it's really good. And I love how much he needs to be humbled. And this like little shit 14-year-old girl comes in and is like, I'm not taking your crap.
Now, does this make you respect the wisdom of Yoda? That Yoda was like, oh, this is what Skywalker needs.
Yeah, totally.
And the reason why Yoda's doing this is like he needs to learn to let go of his attachments. That's going to end up being like a big problem for him.
Yeah.
But Yoda's thinking like if he trains an apprentice, he'll fall in love with this Padawan that he'll have to basically like help raise,
Yeah.
But he'll kind of become like this like loving surrogate parent, and then when they grow up and are ready to leave the nest, he'll have to learn to let go.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we've seen that that's been hard for his, I want to say like Jedi lineage in a way, because it's like Count Dooku struggled with Qui-Gon Jinn's loss. And then, like Obi-Wan obviously struggled with Qui-Gon Jinn's loss. So like, I think like obviously they deal with it differently. Like Anakin is like a different level of, attachment problems. But we've seen that in his like direct training lineage, there's already been like this more, I would say like more sincere pain, because like with Mace Windu's losses and stuff, he's like way less attached, right? And we see him being like,
Yeah.
like, oh well, that's just how it is. She's part of the Force now,
So the Dooku Qui-Gon thing, like they're very close. The master and the apprentice. You think it's they might be like more attached, and like like losing Qui-Gon. That was like Qui-Gon was like the bridge that tied Obi-Wan and Dooku together. Like I was one of the things I was commenting on, watching all of this stuff in chronological order is you really see how tragic the loss of Qui-Gon Jinn is. When Darth Maul stabs him in the chest in the Phantom Menace, like that things really get derailed. Like maybe if Qui-Gon Jinn was around, Dooku even mentions in Attack of the Clones, like, I wish Qui-Gon was here. I could really use his help. And Obi-Wan was like, he would never help you. But, like, maybe Obi-Wan could have kept maybe Qui-Gon could have kept Dooku from going off the rails, and maybe kept him from, if not getting in league with Sidious, from staying in league with him. Like I like to imagine Qui-Gon Jinn alive with Anakin, who's way less whiny because he was raised by the right father figure,
Right.
and Obi-Wan and Dooku, and they're like all united with like their lightsabers pointed at Palpatine.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's what it could have been.
Yeah.
But Maul fucked it up.
Or was it Palpatine that knew all of that and he was like, well, definitely Qui-Gon Jinn's got to go.
Yeah, that could be why he had such a hard on to keep sending Maul to fight those Jedi.
I think he knew that Count Dooku wasn't going to be as good of a servant to him with Qui-Gon still being present in his life.
Yeah, that got killing Qui-Gon would push Dooku closer to the dark side. So, no, that all makes sense. And it's something I also wanted to talk about. I guess it was just like the politics of Dooku. I mentioned I kind of like the political stuff building up to the Clone Wars and then during the Clone Wars. But his big problem seems to be with the Senate itself, basically like with like corrupt government. So
well, every time he's sent on a mission and the Senate's like, don't do anything, don't do anything. He's like pissed off because he's like, well, I could fix this. Like I could make it better.
He sees how like terrible conditions are on some of these worlds. Like the Senate doesn't seem to be serving the people of the Republic. So the I guess the thing that he's about is like he wants smaller government. He's one of these like small government conservatives is like Dooku's whole thing. But that kind of tracks, I guess, with the Trade Federation because it's all these big corporate interests like the banking clan, the Trade Federation, the Techno Union, whatever that is. It's not a union though. It's like a bunch of tech bros. But all these like political, I guess like they want like less government and less regulation. Like they want to have like this like libertarian paradise where there's no government laws and they can just like the corporations can just do whatever they want. I guess that was like their thing. So it kind of makes Dooku, less based in my eyes if that's what he was going along with. But kind of makes sense if he's like this aristocratic, he's like a count, like he comes from like this like rich family. I know like the books explore more of that stuff too. But that also kind of tracks with real world politics. With Dooku ultimately being a servant of the Emperor and the coming fascist regime. But that capital often paves the way for fascism, as is something that was happened in Germany in the 30s. A lot of the big moneyed interest got behind Hitler, and then something that we're going through now with all the corporate efforts that they got behind the Trump regime.
Yeah.
So I guess that sucks in Star Wars and in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the end game of the Clone Wars is kind of weird. But I guess Dooku thought he was going to be more important in the Empire. Instead, he gets beheaded. But
spoilers, we're not there yet.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We can spoil everything but Skeleton Crew because we haven't seen it. So that's the rule of this show is we can spoil anything but Skeleton Crew. Please don't spoil Skeleton Crew. But I don't know. What else?
Well, also in the Clone Wars movie, I wanted to point out I really love... I think I've only seen maybe this film twice, and so maybe I haven't totally put it all together. But I love that the opening battle mirrors the end battle. Whenever... What is it? Season 7? Episode... I think it's 8? Maybe whenever Anakin comes to Obi-Wan's rescue when he's like stuck on the bridge, like held down by all the droids. But it's kind of like that when they're on Christophsis. Like it's a very similar parallel, like in the battle. So, like that first like Clone Wars battle we see in the film, it's very similar to the last one we get with the clones and the droids. So,
it's kind of like poetry. The stanzas rhyme.
Exactly. So I wanted to point that out, and I think like the Jabba the Hutt son stuff was a little much for me. Like, I hate Jabba. Like, who doesn't? And The kid was okay, little squirmy little tadpole child.
Stinky. That was
Yeah.
the annoying thing in this movie. Like you're talking about, you like the sibling banter, and I guess I like that more now because I've seen better examples of it
Yeah.
in episodes of the show to come. But yeah, the whole like Sky Guy and Snips. And then they throw in Stinky on top of that. Like, yeah, I mean, like these nicknames are terrible. Like, I remember sitting in the theater just like so mad, like
Aw.
annoyed. Like, this is not as good as what the Samurai Jack guy did.
Well, I think
Who's this Dave Filoni weirdo in this Indiana Jones hat? Like, get
yeah.
this clown out of here. Like, come on, what's going on?
But you have to remember this is the first time Anakin and Ahsoka have met. So they are kind of feeling out
Yeah,
their
and it's also the show figuring out
yeah,
its
their
voices
tone.
for the characters.
Yeah.
And, it's funny if you read like Filoni's original ideas. He wanted Clone Wars to be about a smuggler, and then he was going to create like a new Jedi Master and Apprentice. Originally, Ahsoka was going to be named Ashla, but she was like the only character they kept out of his original concept. But he wanted to have kind of like a smuggler, kind of like a Millennium Falcon type ship that was like doing missions for the Republic during the Clone Wars, and kind of what Rebels ended up becoming, I guess, in a lot of ways. So, but yeah, I like Filoni. I was just at the time, with this being my introduction to his work, I was unimpressed.
Confused.
I did not
Yeah.
like him.
It was still early.
It took me a long time to warm up to the Clone Wars. This was a show that like I started and quit a couple of times because I was frustrated by it not being as good, in my opinion, as the old 2D show.
Oh. I don't think I've seen the 2D show.
No, I showed it to you a year ago.
Oh, ooh, well, I don't remember it very well then.
That's fine.
We'll have to revisit that too. But I don't remember having the same hangups as you, like with the Clone Wars, but I didn't have that context. Oh, I was gonna say the other thing I liked is having Ahsoka be very, like, oh, this cute little baby. Like, I think that's kind of funny to include because like Jedi aren't supposed to have like attachments, right? And I think that kind of shows that she is also likely to have attachments. You know what I mean? Like she very quickly went from ew, this baby is gross to like, oh, he's cute and like sweet and he's sick and we have to take care of this little baby, you know? And I think that was like a good choice. It kind of shows like Ahsoka also like cares for people. Like it's that same lineage, you know, like Count Dooku cares for people and wants to help people while he's a Jedi, you know, and same for Qui-Gon Jinn, same for Obi-Wan. And I think Anakin ultimately, like, that's like his thinking a lot of times is he wants to help people, even though it doesn't always come across well.
Yeah, he's very compassionate. Like he he always wants to protect. He wants to protect everyone. He wants to save everyone because he couldn't save his mom.
But I mean, like, put Mace Windu on this mission, he would not be saying these things about Jabba's son. You know what I mean? Like, he would be like, well, if he dies, he dies. Like, that's the way of the Force. If the Force wills it, you know. I think it's like important to note that Ahsoka is compassionate also. So I think like we see a lot of similarities and also differences between Anakin and Ahsoka. So I'm glad that they started planting those seeds early.
Jeremiah in the live audience points out the fight scene with Dooku and Anakin was good, and yeah, there is that fight in the desert outside of Jabba's palace. So that's kind of cool. That I guess Clone Wars, you know, they fight each other. They fight Dooku on occasion. It happens a few times over the years, and then when you get to Revenge of the Sith, there's like that moment when Anakin says like, "My powers have doubled since our last encounter." And, like in the theater in 2005, I was watching that thinking like, "Oh, or is he talking about like 3 years ago when they fought an Attack of the Clones?" And now I watch the stuff and I'm like, "Oh, he's talking about like a few weeks earlier when they fought." But yeah, the other action sequence I really liked in the movie was there's a lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Asajj Ventress. I thought was at one point, like she's wearing like that dress, and then like at one point like she takes like the dress off. She has like tights on under it.
Yeah.
But she just like needed like the additional agility,
Maneuvering.
Yeah, and then like, but then like Obi-Wan kind of smirks, like he's like, "I got her out of her dress." You know, it's kind of part of their flirtation / combat.
Yeah.
Oddball is a clone. That's another clone name we get. He's a pilot in Revenge of the Sith, and then he shows up a couple of times in the Clone Wars. We see him in the movies, part of the space battle. Lots of cool starfighter and ship designs. I like the Republic Star Destroyers. We have those cool clone scouts that found the Hut baby. Even though I think the Hut baby storyline is dumb, I like all the clones and all the ships. That all looks so cool. Anytime I see any of it on screen, it's like, oh, I want toys of all this stuff. So which is it's all just a big toy commercial. But I grew up on Transformers, so that's my bread and butter.
That's your generation.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Anything else from the movie you want to talk? I guess we should mention that it was originally not supposed to be a movie. I guess it would have been 4 different episodes, and then when they were animating it, Lucas was like, "This footage is really good. Let's just release it as a movie."
Yeah.
And they just like fast tracked it into a movie, and that's why it is like a very awkward, clunky movie. I guess that's another thing I didn't know at the time, though. I didn't know that it was like 4 episodes shoved together in a movie. So knowing that now,
you give it a little more forgiveness.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of it's kind of a pet peeve. Like they did that with Atlantis too. Like it was supposed to be episodes and then they shoved it together into a movie. And same with Moana 2, which I still haven't seen, but I think that was the same premise. And it just seems kind of silly to me because it's like, well, if you had the means to like make something into a movie, like we would have done it differently. You know what I mean? And it'd be like, oh, well, scrap the whole episode stuff. We'll just like shove it all together and make it work. It's very scrappy, and I feel like it's a little bit unfair to like the artist and the storytellers working on them, you know, because you're just like, well, do it, but change how you're doing it. Like I think that just is not fair. Like just release them as 4 episodes then, and don't do more if that's what you're thinking, you know.
Well, he was the boss. He got to have his way. So.
I'm still saying Lucas needs to have an angel and a demon on his shoulder.
That was one of the things they talk about that ILM documentary is how like everyone wanted to make practical clone trooper armor. It would be cheaper. It would be easier. And at one point, just Lucas put his foot down. He was like, "No, the clones are going to be all CGI mocap," and that's the end of the discussion. So, and then he got his way. Kristen in the live audience is asking if we have a favorite clone, and I think we're probably both gonna say.
I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say Rex.
I do like Rex a lot.
But the episode we watched after the Clone Wars movie, Clone Cadets, season 3, episode 1, that has some really cool characters though. That's the introduction of Fives and Echo. Oh, and 99. So you know, we watch Star Trek. We love Boothby. I just got a mention in the news show Starfleet Academy. But for anyone who doesn't know who we're talking about, in Star Trek at Starfleet Academy, they have a groundskeeper named Boothby, who's kind of this. He's kind of like the Yoda of Star Trek. He gives like this wise advice, even though he seems like nothing special, just this very simple groundskeeper, but he's actually this incredibly wise old dude. And then we have like the clone 99 in Clone Cadets. He's a bad batcher. We get the term bad batchers.
Yeah,
And like
in this one.
yeah, some clones could be from a bad batch. If they're not up to snuff, it's like your genetic quality is questioned. But yeah, we get like a little bit of clone culture. I really like this episode of Clone Cadets. It's the last thing we're going to talk about on this show before we sign off. But it's kind of our first introduction to clone life away from Anakin and Obi-Wan, and there's no Ahsoka, or the only Jedi is Shakti, one of the prequel Jedi, same species as Ahsoka. What are they called?
Togruta.
Togruta. She's the clone in charge. I'm sorry. She's the Jedi in charge of clone training. And then there's 2 bounty hunters working under her that they're hired by the Kaminoans to train the clones. One of them is a T-head guy from the Cantina bar. There's the T-head alien. His name is LS. And then the other guy is named Brick, and he is another Cantina alien that has more background, but kind of the big brain looking. I don't know if it's supposed to be his brain or hair,
I
but
always thought it was kind of like a shell.
yeah. But pretty ugly dudes, honestly. um, but yeah, I guess they hired these bounty hunters after Django died. It was like, well, we need someone to train these guys, so let's get some other bounty hunters. Um, but yeah, they're playing like a game of capture the flag, kind of. They have uh, to pass their final training. They have to go through this droid battle
Simulation.
obstacle course
Yeah.
simulation, and then grab this beacon thing. It's kind of a cheesy as hell episode. It's a lot of like, oh, you just got to believe in yourself and each
Work
other, and
together.
work together,
Teamwork makes
yeah.
the dream work.
But I guess it has enough heart to it that it kind of like I buy into the sappiness of it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
good.
99's is a real lovable character.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's good to see like the tension again, like focusing like, oh, there's individuality between the clones. Like they've got like even though they're the same technically, and they're raised in the same environment, they still all have different personalities. And you can see them like butting heads very much like in the clone cadets. And like even like within each other, like within squads, like there's conflict in their own squad, the Domino squad, but there's also conflict with other squads, like as the Domino squad. And you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, clone on clone
there's a
conflict.
lot of
Oh, and the ARC troopers, they get to be really cool. It's they're like the best of the best clones, or
yeah.
the ARC troopers.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I think it's cool to see them fail and try again and like learn. It's very academy feeling. Or even oh, I don't even know.
Colt is the name of the ARC trooper,
Okay.
right? Kristen in the live audience is mentioning Fox is her favorite clone, but I don't remember which one Fox is.
Yeah.
I might need a reminder. Chris Garris is asking about the animated show, and yes, there's it's all on Disney Plus. It's a long watch, and I think it's rather inconsistent in quality. But I don't know. I would almost recommend like looking up some of the greatest hits and watching those.
Yeah, I think they do have like a Clone Wars highlights on the Star Wars section of Disney Plus. Like they have like highlighted important episodes, like if you didn't want to watch any filler or whatever.
Okay, so Fox is the head of the Coruscant Guard, aka the Corys. So
I'm trying to think. I
is
still
Fox
don't know.
the one who kills Fives? Big spoilers. I guess I shouldn't be spoiling the show so much, but yeah, one of the clones in this episode, Fives, he ends up almost uncovering the big huge Camino conspiracy, and then he's shot dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Echo will go on to be a Bad Batch character. So I would say this is essential watching Clone Cadets for any fans of Bad Batch.
Yeah. I think I haven't answered who my favorite clone is. I've been thinking about that because Rex is high up there, but I almost like my initial immediate response was Fives or Echo. And I can't decide. Like I think I like Echo so much in Bad Batch that kind of skews my. But Rex is so fucking cool. Like,
well, Rex is my favorite because I like Rebels so much, and I think of him as like a Rebels character. Like I liked Rex because of Rebels more than Clone Wars, but then when I go back and watch Clone Wars now, I have a new appreciation for him. And then I love what they did with him in season 7 with that final Ahsoka story.
yeah.
So.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah, Rex is Skywalker's. What would you call him? Like not his
Commander.
Commander, thanks.
Yeah.
So they work together frequently. Chris is asking in the live audience. He's not like the head clone. Like he's just specific to the 501st. Is that right? He's in the 501st.
Yeah, he's like the
leader of the clones for the 501st.
Yeah, he's basically like Anakin's second in command.
Yeah, it would be Ahsoka and then Rex.
The clones of Clone Cadets, the Domino Squad clones, they would be my next favorites next to Rex. So I'm glad we got their introduction in Clone Cadets. The next thing we're going to talk about is also season 3, episode 3, supply lines, and then we're going to jump back to season 1 and cover most of season 1 in order. So that's going to be our next show. But I don't know. Anything else you want to mention or get on the record?
I don't think so. I'm really excited for more Clone Wars. I was kind of like, I don't want to say like hesitant on. I was like, it's like a, I don't know. I don't know my words, but like it's a big mountain to climb, I guess. And so it gives me a little bit of like this feeling at first, but now that we've started the first few steps, I'm like super stoked to trudge along, you know?
Yeah. This is a fun voyage. We're trying to get all the way to Skeleton Crew is the last thing we're gonna hit before the movie, before the Mandalorian and Grogu. So, but what we've watched so far between The Acolyte, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Underworld, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and now we're into Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. Clone Wars is my favorite. I mean, I don't know. That Tales of the Underworld stuff with Cad Bane was pretty good, but like I like the clones.
Yeah,
I like clones shooting droids.
It's fun. It's only getting better.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy at to be at this point. But I appreciate everyone who is able to join us in the live audience. So, DT, Chris, Kristen, Jeremiah. Sorry if I missed anyone else. The silent people who don't comment but are watching. We will be live again soon with some more Clone Wars to talk about. Like I said, we're going to be talking Clone Wars for a long time. It's going to take a couple months to get through this 130, 140 episode show, something like that.
So we'll probably have like 10 streams, like specific to Clone Wars.
Yeah,
at the rate that we're going.
At least, yeah. So, but throughout probably February and March, we'll be pumping out a lot of Clone Wars content. So make sure you're subscribed. You can also follow us on Bluesky and find the Other Star franchise wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time, remember, the Empire is for bootlickers. Be a rebel, and may the Force be with you.